Happy New Year! And a special hello to all my new subscribers. I can't believe how many of you there are, but I am so glad you're here. My name is Melissa Case from Hat to Hem, and today we're doing a review video. I can't believe it's 2020. I didn't even know how to sew at the beginning of this decade, much less all of this. The train's going by. Oh well, I'm losing daylight, I just need to go forward. Sorry about the train. Anyway, as you may have guessed from the video's title, I am doing a 2-year review instead of a 1-year review. And I have a good reason for that. I really feel like 2018 was the start of a new era in my sewing and in my life, and I made so many big changes in 2018 that directly fed into 2019 that I wanted to make sure I kind of had it all together so that one day when I look back on my review videos, I will have a whole full story instead of just missing the first year. You see, I started to sew in September of 2011, and I taught myself using YouTube and Google. I'm not going to turn this into a whole review of my sewing history, so let's just fast forward a little bit. I posted my first YouTube video in 2015 when I was making a Belle commission. I did that because I knew my client would appreciate a look into how I made her dress, but mainly it was for myself. I just wanted to be able to look back and see what I did in case I was asked to make another Belle dress. It was just a time-lapse video. I really didn't think anyone was going to see it. I did end up also making similar videos throughout 2016 and 17. I did a truly Victorian skirt video, and I also made the petticoat for my engagement dress, which eventually ended up being the petticoat of my wedding dress. So I kind of like that I have that footage. The link to those videos and every other video I talk about in this video will be in my description. Anyway, after the Belle commission, I went into a bit of a hiatus from 2016 to 2018. I did a few projects during that time, some of which I'm very proud of, but I didn't really document what I was doing. I just really wasn't sewing at the scale that I originally had been from 2011 to 2015. Mainly that was because my priorities had changed a little bit. The first week of January 2016, I started a new full-time job, and I also started dating Evan. I'm still at that job, and Evan married me, so I'm gonna say that was a good time investment. Then after we got engaged in January 2017, we were planning our wedding, and at the end of the year we bought a house, which took up a lot of time. And then things changed a bit. The same week that we closed on our house, we found out that the catering / day of planning company that was helping us plan our wedding was going out of business. We ended up losing probably about 85% of our day of vendors, and we almost lost our venue. So yeah, that was stressful. And that took us into 2018 and this whole new era of sewing. Okay, time for the real review, I promise. From January to May of 2018, I spent all that time just focused on, well, replanning my wedding, but also on making my wedding gown. Now, I can try to say that I decided to make my wedding dress because of the sentimental value and how overly expensive the wedding industry is. But honestly, the real reason was I was afraid this would happen. Oh wow, your wedding dress is so lovely. Did you make it? No. Honestly, after finding out 5 months out from our wedding that we were going to have to replan most of it, I was really glad that I did decide to make my own dress. Now I know this sounds counterintuitive, but sewing really calms me down. It really centers me and just grounds me, and it keeps me calm, which I really needed during this time of my life. Sewing my wedding gown was a really big escape from all the stress we were under, and I am really grateful for that. I really didn't want my wedding dress to feel like a costume, so I went with a modern bodice with off-the-shoulder sleeves that were inspired by the 90s Cinderella with Brandy. I went for a time period where every single dress that I would draw always had off-the-shoulder sleeves, and it's 100% because of that movie. And for a more historical touch, I went with an Edwardian-inspired skirt. I couldn't resist having a little bit of a bustle, so I bustled up my removable train that I had attached to the back of my dress. I mean, of course, this wasn't really without its complications and setbacks. I decided to add hand beading to my lace, which took forever, and I also had to change up my bodice design a little bit. I ran out of fabric, and I didn't have time to reorder new fabric, and I wasn't willing to spend any more money because weddings are expensive. So I ended up just making do with what I had. In the end, everything turned out okay. My dress was done with weeks to spare. Our new caterer was fantastic. Evan and I worked so hard to make sure every detail was taken care of. And our family and friends really helped make today's success. From my bridesmaid who used a fork to keep our arch decorations from drooping, to my family and friends who helped set up everything while we were getting ready. Sean, I know you're watching this. Thanks again. Yeah, the good thing about making your own wedding dress is that it kind of took away the, oh my goodness, I can't do anything to damage this dress, it is so precious mentality. I was able to really relax and have fun that day and not worry if my dress got damaged. Which is good because it did get damaged. Evan stepped on my dress during our entrance and he tore a huge hole in the chiffon. I didn't get upset. After everything we went through, that was the least of my worries, and now it's just a fun memory. So after our honeymoon in Canada, we came home and I did what any sane newlywed does. I started a business. After sewing my wedding dress, I knew I wanted to keep sewing. And I wanted to make sure I did this all in a legal and okay way. So I registered in all the departments I needed to in Pennsylvania, and Hat to Hem was born. And it wasn't born a moment too soon because I immediately got to work on a commission. I'd been approached to make a gown in 2015. It was going to be based off of the cover of Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I even already had the fabric, which had been sitting in my parents' basement up until that point. Now it was finally time to make the commission. I made a matching chemise, petticoat, drawers, bustle, support, not in that order. Then when it came time to make her gown, I decided I was going to film the process. She had been waiting for this dress for a long time and I wanted to show her how I made it. And that's how I ended up posting my first new video to YouTube in August 2018. For my first time making a dress like this in a couple of years, I was really happy with how it turned out. Anyway, then in September of 2018, we decided to go to Clocktoberfest at the National Watch and Clock Museum. They had a fashion show that I wanted to partake in, and I knew I needed a dress for that. Unfortunately, I didn't have much that still fit me. I did have a skirt that fit me though. So I decided to make a new bodice for my blue and gold steampunk bustle gown. It was a little stressful, but it was 100% worth it. And I actually ended up with a bodice that I liked better than the original. I also made a new chemise, petticoat, and bustle support for this dress. Then in October came another really important project. My friend asked me to make her wedding dress. Now, normally I try to avoid making wedding dresses, I just think they're too stressful. But this was the friend who introduced me to Evan. And she's also the bridesmaid who fixed my arch decorations with a fork, so I felt like I kinda owed her one. So she came to me with a quick sketch, and I was able to make her a dress based off of her sketch. And I still feel very flattered that she trusted me with this. I feel like I really made her vision a reality, and that just really makes me happy. So then after that, we took a trip to Williamsburg for my birthday in November. I was a huge fan of the Felicity books growing up, so I knew I wanted to dress up. I had an idea of what I wanted to look like, but that meant I had to make all the undergarments. I altered American Duchess's Simplicity 8162 pattern, and I was able to make myself a full set of undergarments, including my first pair of stays. I then used their 18th century dressmaking book to make my gown. I decided to make an Italian style gown, and I finished it just in time for our trip. I have a few tweaks I still like to make to it someday, but I'm still really happy with my first attempt at 18th century dressmaking. I did start another commission in December, but this was my last completed project for 2018. It feels like it's a lot longer than that though. Did 2019 feel like 2 years for anyone else? I just feel like it was a really long year. Anyway, on to this year's projects. In January, I completed another commission. This one was based off of Anne Boleyn's red gown that she wears in The Tudors. Or one of her red gowns. I'm pretty sure she wears a lot. I don't know, I haven't watched the show. Anyway, for this dress, I had to teach myself how to make my own machine embroidery designs, which ended up being very useful later in the year, but we'll get to that. I wish I'd been able to do more with the petticoat embroidery, but I couldn't find any good reference pictures, and honestly, we just ran out of time. Still, it was one of Erica's dream cosplays, and I'm just really happy that I was able to make her dream come true. and she was happy with it, which is also very important. Next came another commission in a style that I don't usually do, but this one was for a very good friend of mine, and I really wanted to do this one. My friend needed a Violet Baudelaire dress for a convention she was going to. Now, I am a longtime Series of Unfortunate Events fan, and I really love the Netflix series, so I really wanted to take on this project. This one was done in 2 weeks, and it was just in time for her convention. Since the dress is worn across 2 episodes before and after a shipwreck, I wanted her to be able to use it for either look. So the pocket flaps were removable, and the dress was made with gray buttons and gray binding, which is how it looks after the shipwreck. The pre-shipwreck jacket was made with a white collar and white buttons. Hooray for 2-in-1 cosplays! So this takes me to what ended up being a pretty big change in 2019, and that is how I made videos. In March, I tried to get a group together to go to Mr. Jefferson's garden party in Williamsburg. I thought that maybe if I helped them make undergarments, we would be able to make gowns together and go and have a good time. The result was a 7-part series on making 18th century undergarments using the American Duchess Simplicity pattern. I believe the number is 8579. I posted the videos up to YouTube because it was easier than posting them on Facebook, and things took off from there. Well, the trip didn't work out. I didn't finish my dress in time, and I don't think anybody else really had time to make their own stuff. However, those videos were my first YouTube videos that had a voiceover, and they are still some of my most popular ones, so I'm really glad that I took the leap and made them. And honestly, I really credit these videos for the direction my following videos took. After this, I was finally brave enough to speak directly to the camera, which brings me to my next project. In March, I found out the National Watch and Clock Museum was having another event that I kind of really wanted to go to. The problem was I didn't have a dress. I mean, I had a dress, but I wanted to wear something different, and everything else that wasn't that blue and gold one didn't really fit anymore. The result was I had 5 weeks to try and throw something together that was completely new, but also cost effective. The result was my first video diary and my Parisian bustle gown. I'm not sure if this counts as steampunk. It's more like steam pastel. Is that a thing? It should be a thing. Anyway, this video diary has a special place in my heart because I went into it with no plan and no idea of what I was doing. So you really get to see the organic process of designing this dress as I was going along. And I thought that was kind of fun. And hopefully I'll be able to make other video diaries that are a little bit more like that. After that, I started on my still unfinished teal sack back dress. Yes, I have had this dress in process for almost a year. Making the petticoat of that dress ended up being the subject of my second video diary. My favorite part is when I go through about a dozen different trim options for my petticoat in what was basically edited down to about a minute of the video. I still love how this petticoat turned out. Then video 3 showed me starting to make my gown. That video diary had my first voiceover over pre-recorded footage, which made me realize how easy it is to do a voiceover over pre-recorded footage. I feel like this was the point where I really started to become more comfortable talking to a camera. This video is where, while editing, I realized that at one point I was going through what I consider to be the 7 stages of sewing grief, all during one session of rambling. I also went through a mostly sped up Game of Thrones rant about how nervous I was about the Battle of Winterfell. Oh, my sweet summer child. Anyway, rewatching those videos made me realize how much I want to work on that dress again. So maybe that can be something I can work on in 2020. After that, I went through not 1, not 2, but 3 different projects that are different from the kind of thing I usually do. I made my godson's christening outfit, I did a dress alteration, and I made clutch purses for my husband's cousin's bride and her sister. That's always a mouthful. I still haven't figured out a better way to word that. I also did a little experimental video diary during it, kind of trying to show you what goes on behind the scenes of what I'm doing. And you know what? I am glad that I recorded all of that random sewing, because it really helped make me more comfortable in front of the camera, and it gave me really good editing experience, and I probably wouldn't have moved on as far as I did with my editing if I hadn't made those videos. I also got to test out making a tutorial video, which was good because I am kind of toying with the idea of making more in the future. Then during all that, we had a house fire, which resulted in a melted laptop. Melted. And there was a lot of ash and soot around the house, and it involved a lot of cleaning and a lot of stress. So if you're going through my old videos and you see getting back on track after a setback, that's my post-fire video. I didn't expect a lot of people to watch that one because it has nothing to do with what I usually do. But it was really good for me, if that makes sense. I needed to talk about it, and I needed to kind of work up the courage to get back to what I wanted to do, which was sewing. So that catches me up to my more recent videos, which is good because the sun is setting and I am really losing daylight now. My Making Mina videos started 2 months ago, and as of today they are still ongoing. I have one more video to post, which should be posted in 2 weeks. For this commission, I made a full set of Victorian undergarments. The 2-piece gown and the hat. This gown pretty much required everything that I had learned over the last 2 years, and I am so proud of how it turned out. I made the chemise at the beginning of June, and the gown wasn't finished until the end of October. I did do a couple of smaller projects in between, none of which are on YouTube yet, but I'm going to tell you about them anyway. In September, I fixed up my red German Renaissance inspired gown that I made back in, I think, 2015. It had been worn so often that it was a little worse for wear now, so I wanted to get good photos of it before I retired it. In early October, I made an Elizabethan Italian bonnet for a friend. Making that hat and actually having a finished project after months of working on the same dress really just felt so good. It looked fantastic with her gown, and that video will be posted sometime this year. I also altered 2 bridesmaid dresses and a mother of the groom dress, so October was pretty busy just all the way around. And that's not even including my final project of the year. I still had to make my Halloween costume, and since I work at a library, I knew I wanted something that was going to be literary inspired. I just didn't know what until inspiration struck. I grew up on Little House on the Prairie. My mom was such a huge fan of the show that I am actually named after Melissa Gilbert. I always wanted a dress that was inspired by the show, even before I started sewing. I had an idea of which one I wanted. I mean, I'm in my late 20s now, and I'm still getting asked if I've decided what college I want to go to. So I decided I kind of needed to do an adult dress. So the dress that I wanted to make, and have wanted to make ever since I started sewing, is a dress that's worn by Laura Ingalls Wilder in the show. Honestly, it was a slightly spontaneous decision to make this dress now as opposed to later, because I just happened to see the perfect fabric while I was out shopping for another commission. I decided that if I finished Mina in time, I would just go for it. I finished Mina on October 28th. I had 3 days to make the dress, and I did! I still can't believe I pulled that off. Oh my goodness. I was very lucky to get the dress photographed the day of Thanksgiving, and those pictures will all be up soon. And as the sun is setting, this takes me to why most of you are probably here. The Costumer's Secret Santa! I don't have enough I can say about what a positive and wonderful experience the Secret Santa was. I had so much fun with it, and I'm still surprised I was asked. I still think saying yes to Nikki when she approached me about being a part of the Secret Santa was one of the best decisions that I've made this year. It's honestly second only to taking the leap and making these videos to begin with. Okay, so now before I completely run out of light, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone watching this for everything. Over the last 2 years, my subscriber count has grown from 258 to over 2,580. And honestly, those numbers are just incredibly satisfying to me. I mean, the number itself is large and everything, but really the fact that it went from 258 to 2580, that's just fun. Anyway, between 2013 and 2018, everything combined, I had around 33,500 views and about 1,400 total viewing hours on my channel. In this last year alone, I have over 39,500 views and over 4,200 viewing hours. Just this year! Thanks to the support of all of you and especially all my subscribers, I now have a community tab so I can ask you what kind of content you want to see. And as of today, I am being reviewed for monetization. This is something I didn't expect to happen for at least another 2 years, so I am just amazed that this has actually happened. So, in the light of the setting sun, I want to just thank all of you for everything. I really couldn't have done any of this without you, and I am incredibly grateful. I should really wrap this up. So, if you have a favorite project that I worked on over the last 2 years, please leave a comment below. I would love to hear what you liked best. I have a lot planned for 2020, and if you're interested, please feel free to hit that subscribe button because I would love to share what I'm working on with you. In the meantime, I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye!